You're now listening to episode 17, Star of Play Football, with myself, Theo, as always, and Kojo. What you saying, man? You good?
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. It's Friday. How can I not be happy? You know what I'm saying?
I hear that. I hear that. Loud
Mm.
and clear.
How you
Loud and
doing?
clear.
How,
I-
how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, like you.
Mm.
Friday, best day of the week.
Mm.
Um, yeah, man, a lot to get through. A lot to get through in this episode. So I'm looking forward to this one. But before we get into the episode, as always, make sure you go to the YouTube channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go to our social accounts as well, and also the audio is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you're an audio listener, make sure you go over there for your daily commute. Make sure you go and listen to the podcast on there as well. But we're gonna start straight away, jump straight into it, man. Paul Pogba, unfortunate, man. I do feel sorry for Paul Pogba. I'm not gonna lie. Paul Pogba has been banned for 4 years after failing an anti-doping test. Something that came
Yeah.
up, I think, back in the last year. For those that are unaware, I think it was after a game against Udinese, where it was initially identified that he had high levels of testosterone in his sample A. Um, I believe sample B has come back now, obviously with the same uh, conclusion. So
Yeah.
it looks like he's now been banned for 4 years. He is gonna, from following the statement, he is gonna come out and appeal it. He's still very adamant that he has done no wrong. But Kojo, man, what's your thoughts, man? A player that will, if he's not, he doesn't win his appeal, he'll be, I think, 34 when he comes back from the ban. So is this the end of Pogba? Is this the final time we'll see Pogba?
If he doesn't win the appeal, then yeah, man. It's a sad story because you're talking about a World Cup winner, and when you say World Cup winner, he wasn't just part of the squad. He was a main part of the squad,
Yeah,
scoring the
yeah.
final. Keep off his France. He's won accolades at both his clubs because he's only ever played for Juve and Man United. Um, but there's already the case where people are speaking about, has he ever maximized his potential? Was he ever that guy? Has he, let people down? Yada yada yada. Now you've got this as well. But I would say this about the ban. The ban for me is outrageous. 4 years sounds like they're just trying to make an example out of him for no reason.
Mm.
Because if you look at all the bans that we've had in football, I mean, football's changed over the years, laws have changed, whatever. But you go back to even Maradona. I know Maradona and Pogba, if you're talking about their names and what they did for the sport, is not comparable. But you know, Maradona got caught, I think, two, three times in the 90s alone. And then, you're talking about, or maybe the 80s, one of the two. And then, you've seen other cases where, like Adrian Mutu, for example,
Mm.
was with cocaine and he got 7 months. I know, obviously, his football story completely changed after that. But regardless, the point being, you know, he was, and many others have been on other heavier stuff. Have done worse, and they've got nowhere near. 4 years is extreme. It's extreme. Telling someone to not play football, which is their career, for
Mm.
4 years is very extreme. I was thinking he'd probably get a year out, um, and maybe be told to do maybe extra community stuff. I mean, does the footballers do community stuff anyway, but maybe stop it up
Yeah.
a little bit. That's why I thought I was going to head towards this. For me, it's outrageous, man. I think it's quite frankly a BS call, and he better appeal it, and they better come to the comments and he better win that appeal. I think he will plead his innocence, but I also think he also will expect that he must still be banned.
Mm.
But I just think the year ban, the 4 year ban is just it's out of pocket. Um, and if it's 4 years, when he comes back to football, he's not going to a big club. I doubt he'd even get moved to Saudi Arabia, for being honest. I think you're looking at maybe an MLS, maybe, but if not, he'd have to settle for maybe a lower club in Italy or in France,
Mm.
something along those lines. So yeah, the appeal is big. It will determine whether he has a career left or not. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I do get it from. I mean, obviously, it looks like he's banned to rights. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like if the sample is correct and
Mm.
whatever the banned substances that he's taken, whether he's willingly taken that or unwillingly taken that, then it's on a list. Do you know what I mean? It's on a list of things that you're just prohibited from. I think there are exemptions where there's like an exemption list of when you can use it. I think there was a cyclist, I can't remember, a couple of years ago, Tour de France. He done that. But
Armstrong.
no, no, not Armstrong. I'll find out the name in a bit for you.
Okay.
feel like his name was Wiggins or something, not Bradley Wiggins either. But
Mm.
anyway, there was a cyclist anyway, Tour de France. He'd done the same thing, and he used a banned substance, but he was on like this exemption list where he was able to do it for asthma reasons. He was asthmatic or something, and he was able to do it. So, and Onana, I think, got 12 months for taking something that his wife had prescribed or something, and he unwillingly didn't realize that there was a banned substance in there, and he took that. I think he got 12-month ban when he was at Ajax. So I get it, I do get it, but I think I think the 4 years is the maximum you can give someone as well. I'm sure I read that it's either you can go from a range of like 12 months to 4 years. I think it's the maximum they can give someone. So they've
Right.
literally gone for the full thing for him and for Paul Pogba. And I think I think it's harsh though. I think they've done it because it's Paul Pogba. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like they've done it because they know that he's this kind of flashy brand type player, a bit like a David Beckham kind of esque player, where he's not just a footballer, he's actually a brand as well. And I'll be honest, man, there's got to be some undertones in there. Like this whole episode is going to be filled with undertones. We're going to get onto other stuff, but I feel that, you know, had this been like I don't know, even like a David Beckham, let's use him as an example. I don't think he's getting a 4-year ban. I don't.
No, hell no.
I
Hell
don't. I don't even think he gets a
no.
ban. He might get a little hefty fine or a little 6 months here, or they might even just cover the whole thing up. Do you get what I mean? But I wanted to ask you as well, because there was a thing about Paul Pogba being blackmailed by his brother not too long ago. Do you think the two things might be linked, where this kind of things happen, and it could just be that he was being blackmailed by his brother? I think he came out, didn't he? And I think his brother went to trial, or he's going to trial for it. Do you think the two are linked? Do you think maybe he has unwillingly taken this, but he could have been spiked or anything? Do you know what I mean?
Anything could happen. I mean, the whole thing with his brother, you know, with the stories gone, we hear witch doctors and so many different things about what's going on there. But there was a certain amount of blackmail. The thing about the whole saga that he's had is his whole career has just been based off media and people just trying to ruin him one way or another. There's been over the top criticism. There's been asking to do things that just seem out of the ordinary. You know, it's weird. You know, and yes, he was an inconsistent player, and so, but that doesn't mean you use that as fuel to sort of just build up a level of criticism that is not warranted. From you can go from Gary Neville saying that he committed an act of treason for missing the penalty at Man United. You can go.
We're gonna get on to Gary Neville, don't you?
All right, cool. Where? Yeah, yeah.
Can't wait to get on to
Souness and his multiple. Even after Pogba's gone, he's still been talking about it. I know he gets asked a question, but sometimes he just say, "Look, that was done. You know, he's not here anymore," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Still harps on about him, his family situation. But that's the family one always baffles me, because I mean, it looks like he always looked after his mum in particular. You know, make sure that she was fine. And you know, even his social media activity, there wasn't someone that was out on town partying all the time. It was him dancing at home with his brothers. Things that people do with their family members, you know, having fun.
Yeah.
But he was always criticised for that as well. So, look, if his brother has some sort of involvement, you know, we obviously can't speculate. It will be alleged, but I'd hope not. I'd hope that his brother will not at least try to ruin his career to that extent. But I guess if you're trying to already blackmail him, then you're doing a lot as it is. So, I just hope that he just doesn't get as long as a ban after the appeal, and then he can sort of just get himself back on his feet and keep going, man. But Pogba's a smart man. He's a businessman. He'll find a way to look after himself and do what he needs to do. So, I'm not worried about him in that sense, but I'm worried about him because I know he loves football. Like anybody else.
I was gonna say, like, obviously he's anticipated probably that his career was going to come to an end in the next 5-6 years anyway. So I think when you're a top footballer, you've been on top money, you know, you'd like to think financially that you've secured your kids' futures with the money that you've probably seen, and the sponsorship deals, the commercial deals, the signing on fees, all the rest of it. You would have hopefully secured enough financially to be happy and whatever. But I say be happy, but you know, when you're a footballer, I don't think, you know, it's almost like being in prison without being in prison, I'd imagine, when you can't play football, when you can't do something, you know, you're trying to do something, you just can't do it. So it's Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a strange one for me. I think I just looked the last bit on Pogba because I think he's contracted until the summer of 2026 with Juventus. So it's a mad one because obviously, he's banned now. So what happens there? Do they then get some of that money back? Do you know what I mean? There's a whole can of worms to be open there because obviously he signed a contract. He's probably been given a signing on fee or an X fee. This fee is for X. This fee bonus is for X, and
Yeah.
you'd assume some of those bonuses would have been over the duration of the period of the contract. So, do they have? There's going to be a termination of contract. Did they keep him on the books till that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I assume with football contracts anyway. I've always assumed this, that if a player obviously is being banned from football from something that doesn't concern the club, then yeah, they have all rights to terminate the contract and not pay him anymore. So I'm assuming that that will be cut, but maybe because they haven't terminated his contract yet, so maybe they're looking to see
Wait,
what happens with the appeal.
with the appeal.
Because if he's out for a year, you could. I mean, football clubs will always rehab their players outside of it's just what it is. So I think for them, they'd hope that wouldn't be the case, and he'd be okay to come back within a year. But look, Juventus have a very special relationship with Pogba. It will be very special. This is not one of the we just signed him, he did well, made money from me, came back. They love him. They genuinely love him
Which
at
makes me
that
think
club.
they might keep him. Even
That's what I'm thinking as
even if
well.
they win the appeal, like you said, it's 12 months. I feel they might keep him there. Fans love him, club loves him, and let's be honest, if he's taken a substance that he's unwillingly taken without really understanding, I know it's all down to the player. The player's meant to know what's going into his body or whatever. I get that, but if he's unwillingly taken something, it's hard. It's a harsh punishment, man. It's such a harsh punishment, in my opinion.
I
Anyway.
always think like when it comes to these performance enhancement things, so many um prescribed drugs and whatever, they have so many things in them, and the last thing that anybody does is look at the back and read every single ingredient. Nor do you know how many of these things are actually performance enhancing. They don't come to mind. So that's something that I think people need to realize. It's similar to what's his name, uh Colotori as well. He took his wife's diet pills, didn't he? Obviously with
Yeah,
diet pills, obviously yes, that's something to boost your body to. But I doubt he took it thinking, oh yeah, this slimming thing will make me go outside and perform better. It's just a fat loss thing. I'm trying to just chop weight a lot quicker.
yeah.
So it's just something to consider. I'm not saying they should be more lenient. You have to do what you have
No,
to
you
do,
got to
but
ban the players if they're doing it knowing they're taking something that they is enhancement
there
or
you go.
whatever. Then yeah, of course, ban them. But you just jogged my memory. So yeah, it was Bradley Wiggins. It was. I remember now. So
Okay.
he took a weight loss thing, but it didn't
Okay.
decrease his power. It didn't decrease his stamina. But they allowed him to take it. He actually won the Tour de France. I think it was only a couple of years ago. They allowed him to take it, and but I think he done it for asthmatic reasons or something like that. So it kind of, I think even that exempt list is a bit mad, like, because how do you fall into that category? How do we know Paul Popper hasn't got some underlying issue that he's had to take this thing? And do you know what I mean? He obviously has to put
Yeah.
that case forward as his reason, but he could have done. He could have put that forward as a reason. But yeah, I mean, I still think he might get the Saudi move. I can see him possibly getting a Saudi move at 34 because I think he'll still play football, whether he's not playing it competitively, but he'll still want to kick a ball around. He'll still keep himself fit, hopefully. He'll still keep himself in good shape. And I think if he does all those things, then he could easily get a move to Saudi 34. If the
Yeah.
Saudi
Yeah.
league is
Yeah.
still in that position in 4 years' time, I think he could get
Yeah.
a move there.
He could. He could. That's the one thing that I think is a saving grace, because I think that the one thing that I always thought about Saudi Pro League is, I think not that they're targeting footballers who practice Islam, but if you are a footballer who practices Islam, for me that's the perfect environment where you're in a country that the religion is prominent. And for someone like Pogba, who again, I mean, I don't know if Ryan Giggs was fully aware, but there was he was, I think, was it PN Sports he was on one of the channels, and they showed a picture of him in a car, and the Pogba was in the car. They showed Pogba took a picture in the car. He didn't show his face, but you could see like maybe like lights above on the ceiling of the car, and what's it called? He had like a TV on,
Right.
but it was prayers.
Right.
Only in this country can someone be in his car practicing his religion, and that can be turned into some sort of negative. Whether Giggsy was aware what the situation was, no, because he was showing a still image, not the actual video. So I don't wanna kill him for that. But you know, it's even that alone. The media twisted that in a crazy way for pundits to go on TV and say, "Oh, why is he doing that during game day?" You know what I'm saying? It's mad. So for me, I feel like when you go and play football there, you know that you'll be able to practice your religion freely and look after yourself. And, you know, I feel like Pogba's a peaceful person. I don't feel like Pogba's anyone that really likes trouble or drama. He's never come across to me as that kind of person. So maybe that environment would be perfect for him, where he can just go play his football, have his peace of mind, and yeah, man, just enjoy his final years as a professional footballer before he calls it a day.
Yeah, man, it's a mad shame. Hopefully, we'll probably talk about it again, you know, regarding the appeal, how that works out, and where that goes. But I don't really want to bring this up, man. But we got to talk about the cup final very quickly. Obviously, Liverpool last minute, 118th minute winner on the cup final last Sunday. I don't even want to talk about the match too tough. To be fair, I want to talk about what came after that, during the celebrations, during the commentary. Anyone who's been under a rock will know that Gary Neville, with his perfectly timed line, which he says was very improv, was not thought about, he didn't think about this 2 days before the final. Chelsea £1 billion bottle jobs was the line that Chelsea were given, and is currently sticking with Chelsea, and it will stick with Chelsea now until they win a league or the Champions League or whatever. But obviously, congratulations to Liverpool. You know, they're younger team. They had some of the youngsters out for them. They done really well. I don't know, man. I feel that was a mad line for a commentator who's meant to be impartial, who's meant to be working for the most respectable, if you want to call it that, popular broadcasting service in the country, comes out and says that about a particular team that he clearly has an issue with. I'm going to get onto that, why I think he's got the issue. But what's your thoughts on that, man? Him calling Chelsea £1 billion bottle jobs. First of all, do you think they are bottle jobs? Before we get onto his comment, do you think that Chelsea bottled the League Cup final? And be honest as well. You know me, man. This is it's a safe space around here.
You know, I hate the term bottled, but the reason I hate it is because bottled makes it sound like you were in a prominent position and you threw it away. You were not in the lead. That was never a situation. You wasted chances towards the end of the first 90. You should have killed them in the last 15 minutes of the game in normal time. That's where I can say you bottled chances, because chances were there. You should have scored. Decision making wasn't there. But to bottle it, no, I don't think you bottle. You can't bottle a game that you're not winning, or a lead that you have and you're throwing away. That's bottling. The reason why I had an issue with the £1 billion bottle job and this whole narrative about Klopp's kids is Chelsea have spent a lot of money since, and they have bought a lot of young players. And it's not the young players' fault that Chelsea decided that this was a fair amount of money to spend on them. They agreed with the clubs. The club said, yes, that's what we want. And Chelsea said, you know what, that's what we will offer. That's as simple as it gets. Let me just keep it clear as day. That's as simple as it gets. And the one thing that I hate is that pundits, especially my issue is with pundits, because you guys were in the era of football where, we weren't talking about that kind of sum of money, but you allowed young players to come and shine and grow up a little bit. Even 23 was looked at as a young player. Maybe he's not the finished article yet, and that's fine. I know we've had times where you got a lot of younger footballers coming through and they started to do things from early, but we've had that before. We've had that with McAlowen, we've had that with R9, we've had that with Cristiano Ronaldo, we've had it Lionel Messi, in their eras. I just think it's a bit crazy to call them £1 billion bottle jobs. I think that's so harsh. But the narrative is because Klopp brought in some youngsters and they won the game with those youngsters on the pitch. But the one thing that's always missing from that discussion is the fact that the experience won the game. It was a Simicast cross. He's not a young boy. It was a Van Dijk header. He's not a young boy. It was the experience that got them over the line. The young players came on and did well, but they didn't win the game for Liverpool. It was the experience that won the game for Liverpool. They didn't start 90 minutes for Liverpool. So it wasn't them that showed up for 90 minutes and for you to come and say they lost two Klopp's kids. That's a false narrative and it's just wrong. And that's where my disappointment is with people like, Neville said it came heat at the moment thing. On the overlap, he said, he doesn't mind pulling back a little bit and say, okay, maybe that was a bit over the top. But I think the biggest issue, if you're a Chelsea fan, is just why didn't we steamroller through them even after a normal time? Because you had them on the ropes. So just go for the kill. But that doesn't mean you bottled it. Bottled it is, I think, in terms of just going everywhere and no one really knows what it means. I find it insane. We discussed it on Free in the Field. We discussed world-class generational talent, and no one can come up with a definitive term because everyone thinks differently about it. But bottle job, I feel like people are so easy to throw that around. Oh, Chelsea were 5 points clear at the top of the table and they lost 2 games. You bottled it. You were 5 points top in January. Why did you not win the league? Are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? True. So I think it's just over the top. You guys should be disappointed. You should have won the game in the 90, in my opinion, but you didn't bottle it. And that's not being kind. I think the use has been over the top, and that's a bit disappointing in Gary Neville. But I see why he tried to draw it back a little bit after. But yeah, man, you should have won the game regardless. It's just what it is, isn't it? It's just experience at the end of the day. But you guys are young. You have a young team, and you finish with a younger team on the pitch by average age as well. Yeah. These are things people don't forget. Don't remember. Sorry, they don't remember.
I'm not even having the average age thing. I agree with you on what you said 100%. I think we should have won that game. For the simple reason, by come the extra time, we did have the experienced players, whether you want to call them inexperienced or experienced. They still have a lot more Premier League minutes under their belt than some of the players that came on for Liverpool. The Clarks and the Dans and whoever else came on for them. We should have won that game. And then when you see Pochettino come out afterwards and say that, yeah, we were playing for penalties and, we wanted to take them to a penalty shootout. Part of me kind of gets that a little bit because you probably fancy your chances when you see the team that's on the pitch in that extra time period. But you can't play for penalties. When you've got someone like Van Dijk who is clinical, who's done exactly the same that he did on the Sunday, the last week, Wednesday, I think it was against Luton. He done exactly the same thing, bullet header into the goal. You can't anticipate that's going to happen, so you have to go for the kill in the game in the extra time. My thing with Gary Neville is that, for me personally, he's always had this issue with Chelsea. Even when Abramovich was there, when Abramovich had to sell the club, he had an issue with that. He had an issue when Todd Bowley came in to the club, because he was like, he's just playing football, real life football manager, spending all this money, all these mad things. He said loads of things about Chelsea, like not just him, his little Scouse friend on the side as well. Carragher's exactly the same. Carragher loved Caicedo till Caicedo didn't sign for Liverpool. He's bigging him up every week at Brighton. He was one of the best midfielders coming through. Then when he doesn't sign for Liverpool, I can't believe, I'm so glad we didn't waste the money on him. That was not the narrative when he was going to sign for Liverpool. Liverpool wanted him and he didn't get him. So there's a lot of undertones in there for me. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that back in their day, transfer fees weren't, we paid 80 million euros for Wesley Fofana. I got a couple things I want to run through in a minute, but we paid 80 million euros for Wesley Fofana. You weren't getting that back in their day. How much did Ferdinand go for? Was it like 35 million, 40 million, something like that?
30 million, yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, football's changed. And I think that's, he's well within his rights. He can talk about who's a bottle job or whatever, but when you say something like bottle job, we see it now. Spurs lose a game, what do we call them? Spursy, yeah. We say Spursy. That has stuck with that. They could go on to win a Premier League in 2 years, but then miss out on the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup in a year after. We'd still call them Spursy. It doesn't matter that they won the Premier League the year before that, because that's gonna stick with them forever now. So my thing is, when you look at the club as it is, yes, it spent £1 billion or whatever, but I got a list there. I thought, when he said that, I thought, I need to go back and check, because I know United have spent a bit of money. I know they spend their money. I know he's a.
got a bit of money.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like, so I was thinking, let me go and check back and see how much United has spent and when their last Premier League was, because we talk about bottling and all that. So this is just for Gary Neville. I got a couple of points. I pulled up the receipts today. Yeah.
Run the game, bro. Run the thing. Let's go.
Nah, so listen to this one, yeah. So Lukaku, do you know how much United spent for Lukaku?
That was 75, I think it was.
We're doing this in euros because it sounds better.
Oh, God.
84.7 million was on Lukaku, yeah. Jadon Sancho currently on loan at Dortmund, 85 million euros, yeah. Right. Harry Maguire, 87 million euros, yeah. Anthony,
Oh, boy.
95 million euros.
Yeah.
All right. Paul Pogba, who's no longer at the club, 105 million. Yeah, that's just the 4 or 5 players I just named off there, yeah? No one said anything about bottling. He didn't say call United bottlers then. He didn't call them then. They spent money. So what are we doing?
The thing about Gary Neville at Man United is, because obviously, it's very clear to everyone he's a fan, but he has been critical of players and the club for sure. But on that point and how they discuss finances, I'm very happy that you discussed the issues there, because look at those 5 players you mentioned, right? And Pogba and Maguire, those two, for their fees, you can argue that both underperformed for Manchester United Football Club. Fair?
Anthony as well. You're not throwing Anthony?
Anthony as well. Oh, no. Because Anthony's still currently, there's no excuse. He's terrible. But, trust me, we'll get there as well. But my issue is, and the reason I brought those 2 names up is because whilst I guess the expectation was a lot higher on Pogba, at least Pogba was part of bringing United some accolades, especially in his first year. Whereas players like Maguire, players like Anthony, players like Sancho, not that he hasn't criticised these 3 players, but Maguire will get a lot more protection from him, and I don't understand why. I'm not saying you should go out there and absolutely blast him, but I don't understand why he gets a lot more protection. But you can say that, for like I said earlier, he told the world that Pogba missing the penalty was an act of treason, because he's taking the ball and put it on the floor, and apparently should have missed someone else's. Nonsense. He got that one, and then Harry Maguire is just not defending anywhere well, and he's costing goals for the club, and you're somehow trying to find a way to almost cuddle him a little bit. And maybe it's because you work with England every now and then as a coach sometimes, or you used to anyway, so and you have a relationship maybe with Maguire, so you're trying to protect him a little bit. But it doesn't mean you can be a friend with someone, but you can also say, look, he's not playing well. I'm not asking you to go and say that he's committed to act of treason. You can just say he's not playing well. It's very simple. It's actually fine, But this is what they do. This is what they've always done, and there's always certain narratives that pundits and fans and players follow, and it takes away from the truth. I can come on here. I'm a podcaster. I am not a professional journalist. I am not a professional footballer. I'm not a professional coach. Not yet, anyway. I've got my levels, but I haven't gone into the profession, so I can't say I'm a coach because I'm not a professional coach right now. But the fact is, when me, you, and anyone else comes on this show or any other show, we go out there, we speak. We're not doing it to be controversial. We're doing it because we feel like that's the situation. I'll sit on there and tell you that Marcus Rashford doesn't play well. We're going to speak about him later. I'll tell you how I feel about how he's been playing and what he can do to get better. I'm not going to go and say that that Marcus Rashford is committed to act of treason because he's not pressing on the pitch. That's a nonsense. It's a nonsense.
It's madness.
It's a nonsense. And I'm happy you mentioned Caicedo as well, because Caicedo's not just Gary Neville. This whole nation is after him, and I've noticed it very slowly, but I've not spoken on it. And then I saw a tweet, and there were 4 images from newspapers and the way they spoke about him. And it's always on this little not going to Liverpool thing, and look, he's looking to regret because he didn't join. No, he joined Chelsea. That's the end of the story.
That's it, man.
The story is not always going to be, so every time they lose to Liverpool or draw with Liverpool, it's going to be, he didn't play well against Liverpool. It's, look what he could have had there. That's not how football works. If he went to Liverpool then wouldn't have signed Szoboszlai. They wouldn't have signed Endo because the money wouldn't be there. They spent the money elsewhere, and that's fine. They spent it well, so there's no criticism of Liverpool in that situation. They're good, but Circumstance is circumstance. Now, if he goes and joins them, and there's no more Henderson, there's no more Wijnaldum, there's no more Fabinho, who you put him in midfield with? So these narratives they jar me, but the undertones are there for him, because if it was anybody else, I don't think they'd go this hard. Absolutely not.
Not at all. Not at all. And this is a thing with especially with Carragher, I see it a lot, but with both of them, yeah, is that they're annoyed that there's foreign players coming into this country earning vast amount of money every week. Because you never hear this, like you just said, you don't hear about Harry Maguire. Yeah. Jack Grealish was how much? He's 170 million euros, yeah. He ain't even pulling up trees at City or Etihad. No one's questioning him, but he should be getting questioned. He should be getting questioned about his ability, about his performances, the fact that he's injured I think he got injured again at the weekend. He's a doubt for the derby on Sunday. So all of these things, like no one says anything about Jack Grealish. But you're talking about Moises Caicedo. I hear people talk about Sterling, how he's on 300 grand. And look, I'm the biggest person. I'll tell you straight, like Sterling needs to do better. He needs to do more because he's one of the leaders at the club. But you never hear them talk about certain players from other clubs that, do you know what I mean? There's undertones to it, I'm telling you. And the thing that annoys me with Gary Neville, I'm on one today. I'm on one. The man's got a cheek, yeah.
Go on.
A cheek to call someone a bottle job. The man spent 4 months in Valencia. You lost more games than you won. Big man, please listen to what you're doing. You're calling people bottle jobs. You went to Spain. You couldn't even hack it there. You came straight back and you've not been in management since. Yeah, Richie Wellens was at Salford. He's at Leyton Orient now. Leyton Orient are in League One. You sacked 6 managers at Salford City in the space of 8 years. Richie Wellens was there. He was the perfect man for the job. They sacked him at Salford. He's now at Leyton Orient. They're in League One. He got Player of the Year, Manager of the Year last season. So what does that tell you about all the things that he's doing as an owner? He's bottling the ownership.
Yeah.
There was a thing that Phil Neville said that most of the managers have got sacked because they stopped speaking to Gary Neville. Gary Neville's not just a footballer. Remember that he wants to be in politics now. So when you saw these foreign players coming into the league, he doesn't want them in the league. He wants to push all this English narrative. You don't want a Caicedo and an Enzo and all that. He doesn't want it. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of undertones in there. Is he wrong for what he said? For me, yes. There's other ways you could have said that. You could have just... Because I could hear it in the game. I could hear it when he was in the extra time. He kept saying, these players are just giving him the opportunity. And yeah, he's right in that. But you see, when he said that line, that was premeditated. He knew what he was saying. He knew what he was saying.
He said that, I don't know if you watched the overlap.
I did. I watched it last night.
Yeah. I think he said that he
Shout
progressively
out Ian Wright as well, because Ian Wright was onto him straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Ian Wright. Uncle Ian. I think he said that he progressively got angrier with Chelsea because Chelsea weren't killing the game off, and then he was kind of baffled as to why you started extra time
and he's right,
almost sitting off. No, exactly, he's right. But bro, that's then question the manager.
Because obviously, whatever the manager said to them at extra time, before extra time kicked off, they've taken it on board. So whatever he said to them, whether he actually did say, look, guys, our best chances is penalties, or let's try and grab a last minute goal, or whatever. If he said that to them, or sit back, reserve your energy for the second half for the extra time, or whatever he said I don't know what he said, we don't know. But if he says something like that to them, they're not going to go all gung-ho and try and take all the Liverpool players out. That's not how it's going to work. So that's his tactics. He's told them to do that. But then to call them bottle jobs, like, I don't think, in a couple of months when we're doing all this, like, it's okay to be okay and all that bullshit, all this mental health stuff that they like to push round and round and round all the time. I don't want to see his face anywhere, because he doesn't because he doesn't realize why he calling someone a bottle job. He don't know what someone's going through at home. He don't know what. Do you know what I mean? He could, just because they get paid 300 grand a week, so they can be called a bottle job in the whole nation. The Daily Mail, all these other people are now calling them Chelsea flops, £1 billion flops.
That name's going to follow them for a while. Until the day they win something, and it's not fair. It's going to follow them for a while. I'll always say this. I've said it to you on this podcast a million times. Chelsea are in a huge transition. Mm-hmm. People don't seem to understand it's like I'm not trying to. It's not about comparing to United, but when Man United lost Sats Ferguson and David Gill, the whole establishment just came crashing down. Losing Sats Ferguson was really huge. That was crazy. But then his lieutenant, the guy that knows everything about the club, alongside him, the right-hand man is gone. You're like, oh my goodness, this is insane. What are we gonna do? And in his place was someone who really is more of a money man than a football man in Ed Woodward. And obviously David Moyes came in and he was nowhere near.
Bro,
that's exactly
Todd Bowley. What you're saying now is exactly what we've got now at Chelsea, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge transition. And yes, the money's been spent crazily. You have brought in a lot of talent, but a lot of people always forget, one, buying good talent doesn't mean it's always going to work together. There's always been a saying about good players will always find a way to make the football work. Newsflash, the Galacticos, who had probably the biggest a group of brilliant world-class footballers together, won one league title in 5 years. It doesn't work that easy. Football is never that simple. It's never that simple. And now Chelsea have bought an array of talent, and even then, the way the owner has spent the money, and you've had, I think 3 different managers in his time already with Tuchel, Potter, and now Pochettino, you're expecting managers to just get things clicking like that. It doesn't work.
I'm not
and
saying
players can't click together like that either.
Not at all. I'm not saying that we should be where we are. I'm saying we should be doing better. I've been saying that on the Chelsea podcast, that we should be doing a lot better than we are, and that the team isn't playing well, it's not gelling well, there's no cohesion, consistency, no spine, no leadership. I said all of those things, and they're all right. They're all things that I should be saying as a fan.
Yeah.
But the difference with me is I ain't talking to millions and millions and millions of people, and I don't get. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've got a comment, if I say something mad on here, yeah, and then we stop recording, and I say to you, what I said, was that a bit mad or something like that? Then clearly I'm subconsciously thinking what I've said is wrong. I shouldn't have said it. So for Gary Neville on the overlap to say that he had to go to his producer afterwards and say, was that a bit harsh? Like, you knew what you were doing. And I bet the producer said, no, leave it, because it's going to generate people like me and you to talk about it for the next week or so, and it's going to boost up the numbers.
The guy said, did you think that they bottled it? He said, yeah. He goes, well, then
leave it then,
that's
innit?
that.
Roy Keane even got onto him and said, if you think that, what are you flapping about? You said it, hold that.
Yeah, hold it, stick by it. Stick
with it, man. So when you see all that mental health stuff comes around and you're crying on the couch with Dele Alli and you're talking about mental health, I don't want to hear shit from him, because you don't know what people are going through in their personal life. Just because they're kicking football for 90 minutes a day, a game, it don't mean that they're all right off field. So I don't want to hear none of that bullshit when it comes around from Gary Neville at all. None of that. But yeah, man, shout out Salford. I hope you don't get relegated. Where are they? 19th in the League 2. Let me make that clear. Not League 1, League 2. You're 19th. Yeah, you're 10 points.
Let's go for the whole establishment.
Yeah, shit, man. I'll start on the ownership. I'll start on the canteen lady in a minute. Class of 92. Yeah, I don't want to say nothing about bottle jobs, because Salford City are 19th in League 2 and you're talking about bottle jobs. You need to sort out your own house before you start talking about other people's house, Gary Neville. But let's move on, man. Let's talk. Let's keep it United themed. Obviously, Marcus Rashford has come out with a very what I thought was like an open letter. I thought it was very sort of open in terms of how he's been feeling recently, how he's been criticised heavily. Again, more undertones from the media in terms of how they treat his family, how they treat him, how his private life is very much invaded. You know, just for poor performances, or for how he's been playing for Manchester United. Couple of questions for you. Like, do you feel this was the right thing for him to do? And also, do you think it was the right thing to do before a Manchester derby? Because that's the first thing I thought when I was reading this. I don't know if I'd put this out before the Manchester derby, or does it even matter, I suppose, when you put it
doesn't
out?
Matter. It doesn't matter for me. Whenever it comes, the situation is with football fans, no matter when it comes out, they're going to be happy anyway. So, hey, man, talk your talk, you know what I'm saying? That's how it works for me, man. I have no issue with him opening his mouth and saying what he wants to say. The main thing that what Man United fans to take from this is Marcus Rashford is very, very aware that Man United and himself are not good right now. He's very aware of it. He's given the story of him growing up and how difficult it was for him and his family to make sure that he got to training and everything. And the reason he did that is because the one thing that he doesn't want questioned is his commitment. He's made it very clear. You can talk about my performances. That's the nature of the sport. I play for big Man United. My name's going to be in newspaper. So if I don't play well, people are going to talk about me. I understand that, and I can hold that to some extent. But don't come and tell me that I don't care about this club. Don't do it, because there's a certain moment where he went to go and play football elsewhere, and after he finished, his fam said, "Did you like it here?" And his immediate words were, "No, I want to go back to
Played
like
two
Man
games,
United."
innit? 2 games for
Played
the
two
club.
games, and he said, "Nah, I need to go back home." That's because that's what he sees Man United as home, and he's asking the fans that, look, I know things are terrible here, but we know the kind of support you bring. Please push us on the pitch. I don't, me personally, I don't believe in that sort of. I know the fans can be the 12th man, but I don't believe in that sort of like that weird energy it comes through. I know, like for example, Liverpool fans breathe it. I remember even on after the game and on the overlap as well, and other places they were talking about where extra time they started singing Ale for 5 minutes, and they gave them that super energy, like they're turning Super Saiyan or
So if your
something
legs
to
are
go out there.
finished, you can sing Kumbaya, anything. You can sing the best song to you. If
Bruv,
your legs are done, your legs are done. It don't matter what song comes on.
honestly. And I was like, okay, I know why you got this narrative. I hear it, I understand it, whatever. But I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that, because if that's the case, we wouldn't have had. I know they didn't have near enough a good squad before, but Liverpool wouldn't have been as terrible as they were before Klopp came in and changed their fortunes. So I don't believe in that stuff. But he's also right in saying that the atmosphere amongst Man United fans is very toxic. It's very bad, because Man United fans are not even at peace within their own base, let alone looking at the club and the players. But no, his message is very clear. It's very simple. Support us through the rough times. That's what Man United's always been about, right? Support us. You've heard legends like Peter Schmeichel and others go on interviews and say, "I don't recognize Man United," and they mention the fans as well. They mention the fact that the fans are not the same the way they used to be. Something's happened and the tide has changed. And I always say it. This has happened because Man United fans are spoiled. We were spoiled. Bro, it's the truth. We were spoiled. We won everything, man. We won everything. And if we didn't win a title for 3 years, it's because our GOAT was building another team to dominate for another 3 years after that. And I made the point in the Man United group chat, because some people have been a bit iffy about Sats Ferguson in the squad. He left Moyes. And I said to them, you do realise that Chelsea and Man City, with a combined total of 1 point, stopped Man United winning 7 titles in a row. Ancelotti by 1 point, and Ancelotti's a phenomenal manager, great manager. So, by 1 point, listen to him, no shame. And Man City by goal difference, because quite frankly, I'll continue to bang this drum. QPR gave the game to them. They gave the game to them. They didn't try to defend that. That was nonsense, because they got a kick off at 2-2 and they booted the ball forward for no reason. When there's time on the clock, you're taking the piss, right? But it's what it is. They scored their goal. They won on goal difference. It was 1 point in a collective of 2 seasons that stopped Man United winning the league 7 years in a row. That's how monstrous this guy was.
It's facts, man.
That's how monstrous he was. So, we were spoiled, absolutely spoiled. At the same time, he also at times really didn't have it best from Man United. We sat there and watched Arsenal go unbeaten. Then we watched Jose Mourinho come and just take this league by storm with Chelsea and win 2 back-to-back titles when no one was getting near them. You had to hold that. And in those seasons, we didn't finish second. We were third.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We weren't close. And by the standards that Sats Ferguson adopted, that wasn't good enough. But what do we do as fans? You back the team. You back the squad. You don't go out there and boo a player coming on or coming off. You don't do that. I've never personally done that. Even if I don't like a performance of Fred or McTominay when they were playing together out in midfield, when they come off the pitch, I'll just be, and I'll be like, come on, next person, come on, quickly, let's do it. But I'm not gonna boo them and make them feel like they don't belong. Even if I feel like we should get better, I'm not gonna criticize them on the pitch. I can come on a podcast and say, look, they weren't good enough, and I think you got to move on from these players, absolutely. But whilst I'm there in the atmosphere around them, you need to G up these players. Sometimes they need it.
100%.
You know what I mean? As an individual and sometimes as a collective. So yeah, if the local players bought into that, absolutely. I get it and I understand it. But you can't you can't just give up on your players that easily. You just can't. You can't do it. And Man United fans have done that. So,
do you think though? Do you think that there's like an element of like, yes, the fans have to do more in terms of backing their players? Because I see sometimes when Saka's being targeted by media and whatever else, and they're saying, oh, you know, he's having a bit of dip in form. The Arsenal fans do back him a lot, and
yeah.
but then he does also put the proof in the pudding, because he actually kind of delivers on the pitch and he gets the assist or he gets the goal. I think he scored even last weekend. He scored a good goal the weekend before that. So he kind of delivers it on the pitch as well. So he does a lot of the talking on the pitch as well as off the field. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you feel that Marcus Rashford has to, like, I love when he does things like this where he kind of opens up and says, like, you know, don't question my commitment to the club or, you know, whatever, because I've been doing this for so long that it's ingrained in me, like it's part of my life. You can't tell me what it is. But then there's the other side where I just want to see him do it on the pitch as well. I want to see him where they can't talk bad about you, because you know when you play well, they can't say anything bad about you. Because the fans will say, you know, when you're playing well, if he was banging in goals or he's scoring assists or he's putting in really good performances consistently back to back,
Yeah.
they could write about when he was out in Ireland, yeah? And you know what the United fans would say? So what? We don't care.
But I would argue that okay, actually no, not argue. I'll be very honest. I've said this before. I'll say it now. It's going to be a bit, you know, but I've always said that footballers should never take fans seriously.
No,
and the reason I say that is because fans are fickle.
But then fans shouldn't take footballers seriously as well, though. This is what another thing. Why are we stressing about another man's life anyway? Do you get what I mean?
Because yeah, to be honest, you're right. Because when I heard that he was in Ireland, I said, okay, what do you want that information?
You want to stay at home.
Like, exactly. Look, I support the club and I want you to play the best for my football club. Absolutely. 100%. But I know that's your football club as well. So me personally, if you're going out on a night out, do your thing. But if you're okay to go to football the next day, you're on time and you're fit and you're ready to go, I have no issue with it. As long as you're not doing, you know, getting blind drunk and you're turning up 3 hours later.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. That's why when people talk about, but Sancho's staying up till 2 a.m. playing, I don't know, FIFA, Fortnite, whatever he was playing. I don't care. If you're coming to training on time, you're working your butt off, you come home and you perform on the pitch, why do I care that you're playing FIFA at 2 a.m.? Do it then.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I don't care. But at the same time, this is why I say footballers shouldn't take fans seriously, because fans are fickle. It's literally only a month ago last year, so it's not been that long ago that Rashford was scoring the winner in the Manchester derby. Rashford was hitting his best numbers, and we're talking about Rashford going up a level, and you know, and then this year it's not worked out, and suddenly it's he's never been good enough. This guy's so overrated, man. Sell it to PSG when Mbappe goes. What are we doing?
He'd go there and do madness as well in that league. So
exactly, but then it'll become it's League 1 though, so who cares? Who cares? But then if he does in the Champions League,
look at Kai Havertz then at Arsenal. He's doing a lot better than he was at Chelsea. So
a lot better, but he was in Bundesliga.
And he was in Bundesliga.
You want to talk about tax? You talk about Bundesliga tax, and he come to England, but he's come to another English club. He's doing better now. So what's the story? Is it Bundesliga tax? Players always come from different leagues, and sometimes it doesn't work. Players suit. It's always worked out. It's always been like that. Sometimes someone like Veron, you would never doubt how great Veron was in Italy. Then he came to Man United, and in my opinion, he wasn't even that bad at Man United. It just wasn't as phenomenal as fans wanted it to be. But he wasn't that bad, and he still collected the league title. Fine. Went to Chelsea. Was okay at best at Chelsea. Was a bit up and down, whatever. Wasn't the best. Went back to Italy, done his thing. Forlan came to England, and apart from boying off Liverpool, he was never really about. Cool. Then he went to Villarreal and outscored everyone in Europe. And then he went to the World Cup with Uruguay and became a monster.
It's not always the league, you know. It could be the system that you're playing in. It could be a particular manager that you're playing for. It could be the players that you have in the team that's around you. It could just, do you know what, it's going to sound mad? It could even be where you're living. Like, I think I said this on here before or something. It could just be, you could just be away from people that you're used to seeing day in, day out. And if you move to another country or another part, like I was thinking about Jesse Lingard the other day when I found out he's moved and he's playing in the J League now.
He's in South Korea,
Yeah, so I was thinking that must be mad because he's got a young daughter. He's got his family, probably still local in Manchester or, you know, that kind of area. and he's just in a new country on his own kicking football.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he might be doing well over there. I don't know. I haven't checked. But if he's not doing well, I'd understand why. Because you're going to a whole new country. You got to learn the language. You got to learn new friends. You got to learn the culture. You got to learn everything. You got to learn everything. Do you know what I mean? So
it's football. Fans never consider they never consider these things, and they never consider the conditions. I like what you said about the conditions. Sorry, you gonna say something?
no, go.
They don't consider the conditions. You know, it's like I've been saying recently that when Spurs lost Ericsson, you saw Kane become a lot more deeper because there was no one creating for him. It was literally him and Son, and if there was no one else, if it wasn't Son, there was no one else. And the year he leaves is the year they say Maddison, a creator that he's been screaming for so long. And then you look at Man United, and who was the guy to unlock Pogba? And we need a defensive midfielder that can, hold the fort so Pogba can really go and express himself going forward and be more of a box-to-box. And the year he leaves and doesn't sign a contract, Casemiro walks through the door. Football's a funny game, man. It just happens like that sometimes. It's just what it is. So, yeah, I'm never really that mad at footballers. I get it sometimes. It's just what you have to deal with, isn't it?
I do think Rashford has to help himself a bit more though. By that I mean on the field. I think on the field, like I don't religiously watch United every weekend, but when the games are on and I can see them, like this weekend, the Manchester derby, so I'll be watching that. But from when I hear and I hear things from certain United fans, it is always a case of he can do more. And the worst thing is we know he can do more because you just said it yourself. A year ago, he was scoring a winner and hitting his best numbers. The Manchester derby, he was scoring a winner. So he's shown us already he can do it. So I think for me, it's that consistency, and I think this is where fans get annoyed. And I said at the start, I kind of hear both sides because fans can see what you can do. We've watched you for a whole season. We was talking about you being one of the best, and then you kind of dipped off and. We don't know why or whatever, and then had we not seen that form that we know he can deliver, then you'd be a bit like, this is harsh. We don't know. A lot of the Chelsea players are like that now. We don't know what they can do because we just talk about potential. But we've seen it with Marcus. We've seen Rashford's good numbers. We've seen them. So I think that's where fans get annoyed and they go like, well. Why can't you do that consistently like you did last season? Or why can't you do that this season consistently? Because to be the best, like we were saying on free midfield, to do something, you have to do it consistently to be dubbed world class or generational or whatever. You've got to be dubbed. You got to do that for a long period of time to be considered that. So I think that's where United fans, I get it because they're like, do that consistently, there'll be no problem. But it shouldn't be like that because the media have been waiting for a moment to get him. I feel.
Yeah, they have.
Remember all the, because I think he says it in, he said like obviously he feels like it intensified when he was trying to do the free school meals and all that during the pandemic and all of that. They build you up, the media. I've said this on loads of places, but they build you up. When they want you, they'll build you up to be something. And then when they don't need you anymore, they don't want you, or they don't want you in a particular position, they'll knock you over. And they'll do it very quickly. So they're doing it now for him. He shouldn't even be fighting that battle, that free school meal thing. That's not even his battle. That's the Prime Minister's job. I don't even know why you're even getting...
Why is Marcus Rashford having to do that for the country?
Then that comes back to the PR thing. Like, this is another thing with him. I feel like he does like the PR, the wheel. He loves to do the PR stuff. And
I don't agree with that.
No, go on now. This is what we're here for, man. This is what we talk
I don't agree with that. Because I feel like Marcus Rashford has only started speaking out because he felt like he's had to. That's the thing. There's Man United fans, and I will attack Man United fans in particular for this. They have this idea in their mind that every time something is said about a club, they know who the leak is. Bro, let's run through the players who have come and gone and have been the leak. Pogba, David De Gea, this guy. Bro, the amount of names I hear, this guy, he's snaking the club and he's saying this, that, and the other. And then the player goes, and then the player goes, and the problem's still here. So if Rashford goes this summer, there will be another leak. And when another leak is coming, they'll give you another name. I was hearing Sancho. Oh, Sancho was talking about Ten Hag and the relationship and all that. I'm like, yeah. So Sancho is the same person that's leaking that he's playing PlayStation at 2 a.m. Give me a break.
Nah,
Give me a break. Like, I just feel like not that I disagree that players like good PR and they will do some things to make sure that will turns in their favor. That I don't disagree with, but I disagree with fans and people that say Rashford is really forcing it on to make sure that, you know, he's almost like he's ignored in Man United's worst period of form because he's the Manchester boy, he's the homegrown boy.
I don't think it like that. But
You're not saying that,
no, not at all.
but they do.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%, 100%. No, I've heard that, but I think he wants to have an image, and that he's right to have the image. I'm like when I say he loves the PR, I don't mean it in like a negative way. Like he loves he wants a positive image. Like all that whole free school meal stuff, he wants that image. He wants to be the person that helps other people. Me personally, I probably would have done all that behind closed doors. I wouldn't have had to go and, do you know what I mean? But I think maybe to get his point across, he had to do that. Maybe he had to shout from the rooftops that these people that are in parliament and government aren't feeding these kids during COVID. Maybe he had to do that to get his point across. So, do you know what I mean? But I just feel that there's certain things when you're doing, like I said at the start of this, when you're doing well on the pitch, nobody cares what you're doing. I'm telling you from now, nobody cares when you're shagging someone else is missing. I tried to butter it up in a nice way. But when you're a Carl Walker and you're in Man City and you're just playing well and you're tipped to win the Premier League and you're going to possibly win the Champions League and you're one of the best right backs in the world, no one cares. It's when you start pulling up a few stinkers, people start thinking, well, you know, you're pulling up a stinker there. So, and that's when it starts building and then they just knock you off the pedestal.
Yeah,
So
no, you're right.
it's just messy, and I think for me now, I just hope for his sake, and I shouldn't even have to say this, but I hope for his sake, he has a brilliant game on Sunday against Manchester City. Because if he doesn't, I can just feel people coming back to this whole thing that he's just put out a couple of days before, and it should come to that. Because look, he won't be the only person if United lose, like that should be probably, you know, discussed or whatever. It should be the whole team. Do you know what I mean? It's a team game. But did you know that pinpoint Marcus Rashford is the reason, the weak link? He didn't track back. He didn't do this. He didn't mark this person. He didn't create chances or whatever it is. They'll find a reason to blame him. And it goes back to that undertone thing of a young boy, because he's still young, you know, a young boy, millions in the bank, doing what he can for the country, feeding the kids, so to speak, doing all of those things. And people will still have a reason to say that he's still not good enough to play for Manchester United. Mind blowing.
Well, the players that they want in his place are just as inconsistent. So, hey, man, good luck to them.
Yeah, man, 100%. But we're gonna get onto our predictions soon. Before we do that, very quickly, let's talk about Everton very quickly. Premier League have listened to their appeal. Appeals do work apparently, so Paul Pogba's hopefully in with a bit of a good shout there. But so their reduction has been reduced to 6 points following their appeal. This has obviously now put them in a very better position than they were 7 days ago in the Premier League. They're now 15th on 25 points. They've leapfrogged Brentford and Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. So just on this very quickly, does this change anything for Everton? Does it change anything at the bottom of the Premier League? Can you see Everton now potentially surviving, or I suppose they were always going to possibly survive, but does it make it a lot easier for them to do that now?
It does. It's a confidence booster, isn't it? But what I will say is Everton were in poor form at the beginning of the season. They got a deduction, and suddenly they were able to play and get results. I find that a bit fishy. Firstly, I just don't know what that is. Apparently, you need to be deducting points to really find yourself on the pitch. I don't get it. So I'll never understand that. But look, they've been given a bit of a lifeline. They'll be okay. They'll be fine. It won't change anything for anyone else. I think Everton were going to survive anyway. So, yeah, I think they'll be okay. And truth be told, if they weren't deducting points, it'd be higher. So for everyone else that's at the bottom, really and truly, you were given a lifeline in the first place by them being dragged down. So, yeah, same off for them, but I think they'll be okay. Looking at the teams down there, I don't think this I don't think there's 3 teams worse than Everton, or
Yeah,
rather better that will stay up than Everton. So yeah,
yeah.
they'll be okay. They'll be fine.
Yeah, just looking very quickly on an athletic article by Mark Kerry, who's put something really good together in terms of the predicted end to the season. The percentage rate of relegation for Everton is 4%. Luton 69% chance of being relegated, 99% for Burnley, and 100% for Sheffield United. And they've even gone down, drilled down to the most easiest fixtures for Everton to win. They've got a really nice run into the back end of the season as well. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be very fine. I don't think there's any issues there. But they do have another case of possible deductions coming up soon, so they could almost go back to where they were. They've got another appeal, I think, hopefully, that they'll have to address in the next couple of months, I think. Last question on that before we go. Obviously, Nottingham Forest are in almost the same boat as them. They potentially
Yes.
might be getting some sort of deduction as well. Surely that has to be done within the same season, because let's say, for instance, it gets dragged on, goes into the next season. That's a bit mad, because then you're talking about something that's already happened. It could maybe have made a difference in who went down, who stayed up in the Premier League. Surely, if they're going to deal with Nottingham Forest, they have to deal with Nottingham Forest. Say the FA, whoever it is, the Premier League will have to deal with them in the same season as Everton. They can't really do them two seasons side by side.
They can do. I think if they don't do it this year, then they might. If they stay in the Premier League or to get relegated, they can probably start the season with a -10.
Would that be fair though? I suppose is what I'm saying. Would it be fair if they did that and then
It's the punishment. It's the punishment, bro. If you get it now, yeah, big trouble. I'd rather you get the chance to at least accumulate your points and stay in the league before they come and drop that on you and then say, hey, next year, you know what? At least we know what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? Because I think if they drop it now, I mean, I've got to get the league table up and have a look on my laptop. I want to see where the points gap is for them. If I can get it up here now. Here we go. Premier League. Fantastic. Table. Thank you. Just taking a bit of time to load. This is my phone. There we go.
There we go.
They're on 24. They're on 24 points. So if they get deducted 10 points now, they're going straight to 19th, and they'll be 6 points behind Luton. Oh, sorry, they go to 18th. Sorry, and they're going 6 points behind Luton. That's dangerous. And Luton have a game in hand on them as well.
I think they should definitely deal with that this season for me, personally. Anyway, but
I mean, if they do, fine. But if they do, then they need to do what Everton did and find their shooting boots and get going and scoring straight away. You know what I mean? Otherwise, because Nuno came in with a win and now it's been 4 wins in 13 games. It's not looking rosy.
it's mad.
It's not looking rosy.
It's mad.
You know what I mean? So, boy, they need to pick up then. If they're going to do that, you pick up now. Otherwise, things will get very tough for you, boy.
Yeah, madness.
That's what it is.
One to definitely keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks. But before we wrap up, before we sign off for the week, quick fire, as we do every week, on the fixtures coming up. So let's start with Fulham Brighton, Craven Cottage.
Fulham Brighton, I'll go 2-1 Fulham.
2-1 Fulham. I think I went that actually. I went 2-1 Fulham. I think they'll get the win against Brighton. I think Matoma might be out for the remainder of the season as well for Brighton. Big loss for them. Brentford versus Chelsea, the Community Stadium. It's not even called that now. It's called something else, but I'm sure it's called that at one point.
So G-Tech?
G-Tech now, G-Tech.
I think this will be a Chelsea 2-1. Because Brentford, no one's really talking about Brentford's form because they'll be okay. Brentford are not in good form.
They're not
in good form.
They do normally give us a game at the G-Tech, so I went 2-0. I think 2-0 Chelsea on that one. I think we'll try and get some confidence in the team after the last couple of days. But Tottenham, Crystal Palace.
Ooh. Palace did win against Burnley. The one against Burnley are, well, no comment. I'll give Spurs a 3-1 win here.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think they'll win it.
I went 1-1 in that game. I went 1-1. I think Palace, new manager, Liked how they played against Burnley, albeit against Burnley, so I've gone 1-1 there. St James's Park, Newcastle versus Wolves.
You know what? I'm gonna go 1-1.
See, I went Wolves with that one. I went Wolves. Yeah, I just feel Newcastle on that sort of mad, slippery slope a little bit. Yeah, I think they had to play. Didn't have to play a bit extra as well. Midweek FA Cup, they had to play extra time penalties as well.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so. So yeah, Everton, West Ham, Goodison Park.
Ooh, Everton did bounce back. Um,
It's a tricky game, man, because both don't
yes.
really have. Yeah, I mean, Joe Bowen got a hat trick, didn't he, last weekend? So
Bowen's main source of goals this year has been he's been scoring a lot of away from home goals.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he'd be a better scorer. You know what? Everton West Ham. I'll go 2-2.
Yeah, I've gone 1-0 West Ham.
No, West Ham.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tight game. West Ham probably get a late winner in that game. Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, dress rehearsal or could have been a dress rehearsal for the FA Cup, couldn't it? If they United,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, 0-0
Um,
Liverpool.
I think Liverpool are finding their stride now, so I'll go Liverpool. I think Liverpool win that 3-0. To be
Yeah,
honest.
I think they'll batter them. I think I'm
Yeah.
talking like 5-0.
Damn.
5-0 hammering. Sorry, Forest fans. I think it's going to be a hammering. Last
That's
game on the
bold.
Saturday, Luton versus Aston Villa, Kenilworth Road.
Villa 3-1.
See, I went 1-0 again, Luton.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough there. So before the big one on Sunday, we've got Burnley, Bournemouth, Turf Moor.
Burnley Bournemouth. Ugh.
Yeah, I didn't say it was good. I just said before the game, the big game.
Goodness, I didn't even clock that's a fixture. Bournemouth 2-1.
I'm going 0-0 in that game.
Green 0-0.
I'm going 0-0 because I don't see no one
Why
scoring
not?
in that game. Maybe
Why
Solanke might
not?
get one, but yeah, 0-0. Big one, obviously, Man City versus United, Manchester United, Etihad, the big
All
one.
right. I answer this the same way every year, so I'm gonna for every fixture. So I'm gonna do it again. My heart wants Man United to go and win 2-1. So I'm gonna say with heart 2-1 Man United. With my head 4-1 Man City.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
Just being honest.
they're looking
Just being
dangerous right
honest.
now. See, dangerous, looking very, very dangerous. Last game, I think on the Monday, Sheffield United, Bramall Lane against Arsenal.
Arsenal hitting 5 again.
Yeah, I think so. Innit? I think
Arsenal
it's going
hitting
to be
5 again.
dangerous for them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, some really good games. Obviously, I think the derby, Manchester derby, is on slightly earlier than usual. So I think it's about 3:30 kickoff on the Sunday.
Oh yeah,
So
you're right. Yeah.
yeah.
Right,
So just anyone who's traveling to that, make sure you don't turn up expecting the game at 4:30 because you missed the first half. So, but yeah, man, as always, thank you very much for listening. Kojo, pleasure as always. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, as I said at the very start as well. The social accounts, the audio version of the podcast as well. It's on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Make sure you go and listen to them as well. We'll be back next week as well. Give us your thoughts and comments as well. Don't forget to do that. Comments and thoughts in the box below on YouTube. And you can also, I think, do that now on Spotify. So make sure you leave some comments for us to read, and we'll try and read some out next week if there's any to read out. Have a good weekend, and we'll be back next week.
Peace.